Alex Bowman is expected to sign a multi-year contract with Team Hendrick. Paul Menard is making his NASCAR's return at Circuit of the Americas, and NASCAR is still considering moving the number of placements on the cars. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to the video. We got a lot of NASCAR stories to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off all the paint schemes and sponsor news. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into those. The first paint scheme we're going to take a look at is James Davison's 2021 Clubhouse Skip Barber school scheme that we're going to see in a couple races this year at Circuit Americas, Sonoma, Road America, and Watkins Glen later this year. It's really cool that the Skip Barber school is going to be sponsoring James Davison, and I'm a really big fan of this paint scheme. It is a very awesome paint scheme, and it looks really, really cool. The next paint scheme we're going to go ahead and take a look at is Bailey Curry's 2021 JM skill scheme that we are going to see this weekend in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Circuit of the Americas. I like the paint scheme a lot. The red looks really, really good on the car. I'm a big fan of it, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this paint scheme out on the racetrack at Circuit of the Americas. And then the final paint scheme we are going to take a look at is Daniel Suarez's 2021 Onyx scheme that we are going to see this weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. It's also a partnership with, I believe it is, I can't remember the company that they're also working with as well. I think it's iFly that they're working with as well. Very big fan of this paint scheme, to be honest with you. The colors look really, really well. Kyle Sachs is designing a lot of really awesome cars here, and I think that he's done a very good job on his paint scheme. I really like it a lot, and I cannot wait to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. And now we're going to go ahead and jump onto all the other major stories that we discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first story we're going to talk about is Frank Kimmel II, as Frank Kimmel II is going to be replacing Steve Barkdahl, and he'll become the new spotter for Daniel Suarez here this year. I believe he would be already began spotting for Daniel Suarez this past weekend at Dover International Speedway, and he got Daniel Suarez to a top 10. I'm very intrigued to see how Frank Kimmel II is going to do. Of course, he is Frank Kimmel's son. I'm very intrigued to see if he's going to help Daniel Suarez, and I think Steve Barkdahl was a very, very solid spotter for Daniel Suarez. But what I'm hoping and praying is that Frank Kimmel II can go out there and help Daniel Suarez perform a lot better. So I think it'd be really, really cool definitely to see that. And I'm hoping that he does a very good job on that front. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Joe Nelms. As unfortunately, Joe Nelms is not going to be delivering the invocation at Nashville this year. This is really unfortunate, to be honest with you, because a lot of you will probably know who Joe Nelms is. He had that famous prayer in 2011, the one where he said, "Thank God for, Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife." That prayer. Everybody wanted him to do the invocation this year, and it sucks he's not going to do it. I understand that they made decisions up front before that, but I think it's really frustrating that Joe Nelms is not going to be the pastor this year. It's really unfortunate because I think he could have done a really good job to follow up that from 10 years ago. I think that would have been really, really cool, especially since we're coming back to Nashville. I think it would have been really cool if Joe Nelms got the opportunity to do the invocation once again. And now we're going to go ahead and jump onto the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Sonoma Raceway. As is expected, that Sonoma Raceway is going to have 15,000 fans for the Sonoma Cup race. I believe that Sonoma Raceway can hold about 45,000 to 46,000 fans, so I think that's about 33% capacity. They said that there were probably at least going to be a lot of 33% capacity. They wanted to originally have 6% capacity for the race, but now they're only going to have 15,000 fans for Sonoma. It's no surprise, to be honest, it's California. They're still opening things up very slowly in California and like states like New York compared to other states here in the country, so it makes a lot of sense that they're going to be opening up, but at least there are going to be fans at Sonoma this year, because there was a chance earlier this year that fans were not going to be welcome, and the fact that at least 15,000 fans, it could increase, because Sonoma is not for at least a couple weeks, but it's expected that 15,000 fans are going to be allowed at Sonoma. At least that's good that there are going to be 15,000 fans this week, that weekend there at Sonoma. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. As Dale Jr. said in a tweet that they're still working on sponsorship for Josh Berry. It looks like they're still trying to help Josh Berry run the full NASCAR Xfinity Series season. Of course, Josh Berry ran one earlier this year at Dover, and he's been, not Dover, at Martinsville, and he's been really, really consistent so far this year and has had a lot of speed this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in the A car. And a lot of people have taken note, especially for a guy that's done really, really well this year in that A car, especially since he's not running full-time, as he's also not going to be running this weekend at Circuit Americas. They're still trying to find sponsorship for Josh Berry to eventually run full-time and run a lot more races this year. I hope it does happen, because I really, really like Josh Berry a lot. I think he's a very, very good dude and a very awesome race car driver, and I really do hope and pray that he will get more sponsorship going forward, so I think that this would be a really awesome opportunity for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Justin Haley. As Justin Haley has been approved for a waiver and is still playoff eligible as of right now. For a lot of those who know coming in this weekend, Justin Haley did not race this past weekend at Dover due to COVID-19 protocols. He was not able to race this weekend, so it definitely makes a lot of sense, especially since the extreme circumstances. They granted playoff waivers last year to Jimmy Johnson and Austin Dillon, who were out due to COVID-19 protocols and who were out due to COVID-19. It makes a lot of sense they granted Justin Haley a waiver. Of course, Justin Haley was already in the playoffs right now. If how many points he had, it really wasn't going to matter. He had such a big playoff cushion that if he missed one race, it really wasn't going to be over the end of the world for Justin Haley. But I'm really glad they granted him a waiver. I know some people probably like, why did he get a waiver? Well, there's the reason why he was approved a waiver, because he had tested positive for COVID-19 or had COVID-19 protocols. That is the reason right there. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Charlotte weekend. As it was reported the day on Friday that Charlotte Motor Speedway announces it can be full capacity for its May event. No mask requirements. Fans who have not been vaccinated are still encouraged to wear a mask. You heard that right. For the whole Charlotte weekend, especially since practice qualifying are going to be back for that weekend, the first fully normal weekend since last year at Phoenix, fans are welcome back, 100% capacity, masks are no longer required. I can tell you right now that I am super, super happy and super excited to hear this news. I've been waiting for a day when NASCAR could finally get back to normal. I knew that there was a chance it could happen this year. I'm very surprised that mask requirements are going to be gone for the Coco 600, to be honest with you, but I'm really happy, especially in the state of North Carolina, where things have sometimes taken longer to open up. I am very, very happy that fans are going to be welcome back in full capacity. This is definitely some really, really exciting news for sure. And to see that we're going to have full capacity for the weekend for the first time in a long time, things are finally getting back to normal. I mean, things have been slowly trickling back to normal. There's been races where they're having full capacity. A lot of races already announced they're going to have full capacity. Pocono, they're going to be having full capacity at 3 of the playoff races. At Daytona, Darlington, Kansas, expect to have full capacity at Bristol. Expect to have full fans, like I said, at Pocono and Atlanta as well. The fact that we're starting to see a lot more racing now full capacity is really, really good. And I think by the end of the year, everything will be back to normal. But it finally feels normal to have full capacity for races. I cannot tell you how excited I am to hear this news for sure. And I'm definitely looking forward to those news stories for, because that's really, really awesome. And I'm really happy that fans are going to be welcome back. I'm really, really happy about that. I cannot tell you how excited I am that fans are going to be welcome back. It's really, really awesome for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Austin Cindric. As the next couple races for Austin Cindric have been announced for him to run in the NASCAR Cup Series. The next race that Austin Cindric is going to run is this upcoming weekend at Circuit Americas in the Cup Series, driving the number 33 for Team Penske. So he'll be back there in his first road course race. Austin Cindric has ran many, many other races on many other different types of tracks, including short tracks, mile tracks, and other kind of short tracks as well. Austin Cindric has been running at a lot of different tracks to get experience. In addition, running at Circuit Americas, Austin Cindric is also going to be running on July 4th at Road America as well. So I can tell you right now, I am super excited that Austin Cindric is going to be running those upcoming select races. I'm really excited about that, because I think Austin Cindric definitely is going to have a shot at contending for there. Circuit Americas, I don't think he's going to win that one. I think he has a shot at least contending for a top 5 in that one. I think he's one you're going to definitely have to watch out for, especially with how good he is on road courses. I think Austin Cindric will definitely have a lot of speed for that event, but I don't think he's going to be the favorite for that one. But Road America is one I have circled for Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric, I think, actually could win Road America. I really think he could win that one. And the reason is he's going to have a lot more experience at Road America than a lot of the other guys that are racing in the Cup Series. I think that Austin Cindric definitely has a shot at least contending. I think he could, honest to God, I think he could contend for the win. I'm being serious. I think he could win Road America. I think a top 5 for sure at COTA is going to happen, but I think that Austin Cindric will have a very good shot of winning Road America. But I'm really excited to hear that Austin Cindric is coming back, and he's going to run 2 more races this year. And that road courses too. Everyone's been wanting him to run road course this year, and now he's going to be finally running road courses. What I like that they've been doing this year with Austin Cindric is they've been running different types of tracks with them to get him acclimated to different tracks. They've been doing a really good job with that, and I'm hoping that he can have a shot at winning those upcoming races. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Austin Dillon. As Austin Dillon is going to be racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Circuit Americas, driving the number 77 for Bassett Racing. This is Ronnie Bassett Jr. and Dylan Bassett Jr.'s organization that they're running. Remember, they were supposed to make their debut at Daytona, but because the race, they got rained out, qualifying got rained out, they were not able to qualify in, and they've not been able to race since, but they're going to be attempting once again. I think it's really exciting that Austin Dillon is going to be driving in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race for Bassett Racing. I think he's going to have a really good shot of contending to get into that race again. They're going to have to qualify in, because, again, there's going to be qualifying back, and they're going to have to hope. There's rain in the forecast, fortunately, for that weekend. But I think if Austin Dillon is driving a 77 car, I think that he has a very good shot at least at contending in this car, because I think Austin Dillon is a very, very awesome and a very solid driver. And I think at least he'll have a shot at getting into the race. I think especially, I'm not sure how good he is going to be on the road course. It's been a few years since Austin Dillon has raced in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I think it's back in 2017, 2018 that he raced in the Xfinity Series. But man, I'm really excited to see that Austin Dillon's coming back. A guy who won a championship in 2012. I think that he'll have a shot at least contending. I'm hoping the best for Austin Dillon. Now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're going to talk about Preston Pitts. As Preston Pitts is going to be driving the number 91 for DGM Racing at Circuit of the Americas. Preston Pitts has already driven for the DGM Racing organization earlier this year. He ran at the Daytona Road Course. I think that Preston Pitts definitely has a shot of contending pretty well. There's a lot of people, really, really heavy hitters that are going to be running this race, so I think it's going to be a little more sturdy for him to get up to the front. But I think he definitely is going to have a shot at least contending, and I think that he'll have a good shot of running up front. Good to see that Preston Pitts is once again back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Logan Beard. As Logan Beard is making his NASCAR Truck Series debut this weekend at Circuit of the Americas, driving the number 44 for Hendrick Motorsports. For a lot of you who don't know, Logan Beard is a 25-year-old super late model driver. He's driven in late models for a very long time. So this is a great opportunity for him. I don't really know his statistics on the super late models. It's very intriguing that they're not running him at a short track compared to basically running him at a super speed at like a road course. I think it's really intriguing that they're doing that. That being said, I think that this is a very, very good opportunity for Logan Beard, and I'm wishing the best and hope Logan Beard can have a really good opportunity of running up front. I think it'd be really cool if he at least could get 10 and have a very strong run. I think it'd be really, really awesome. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Michelle Abate. As it was announced this morning that Michelle Abate is making her NASCAR Truck Series debut this weekend at Circuit Americas, driving the number 30 for On Points Motorsports. For a lot of y'all who do not know who Michelle Abate is actually a Trans Am driver, and she finished second last year in the Trans Am West T2 Championship. So she almost won the championship last year, and I believe won some races last year in the TA2 Championship, if I'm not mistaken. This is definitely a different ballgame, though, for sure, because she's never raced in a stock car before. Against Trans Am cars could be also attributed similar to the NASCARs, as the Cup Series cars next year are going to be similar, but I think Michelle Abate definitely will have a shot of at least contending in the car. Not contending. I think the On Point Motorsports cars definitely have some speed in them. So I think that Michelle Abate will definitely have a shot of at least contending in some way, some sort of form or capacity, at least for top 25. Again, with a lot of people being experienced in road course, and I think road course experience is definitely going to matter a lot more. I think Michelle Abate definitely is going to have a shot at least contending. But yeah, really awesome to see Michelle Abate is going to be running in the NASCAR Truck Series and making her Truck Series debut. Really awesome to see that for sure. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Andy Lally. As Andy Lally is going to be racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Circuit Americas, driving the number 23 for Our Motorsports. He's been teasing that he's been looking to run here at Circuit Americas in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's been teasing that he's been basically planning to run that, and he will be running in the number 23 car for Our Motorsports. I think this is a really good opportunity for Andy Lally. This car almost got in the top, actually finished in the top 15 with J.J. Ely this past week, and the Our Motorsports cars have tended to have a lot of speed, and I think that he will definitely make the race, and I think Andy Lally honestly could get a top 10 this week, and yes, I think that the equipment definitely is going to matter a lot more, of course, but I think that experience on road courses is definitely going to come into play, and I think that Andy Lally definitely is going to have a shot at least contending. I think he'll do very, very well this week, and I really, really think he will, and I think he'll absolutely definitely have a shot at least contending this weekend here at Circuit Americas. I think he will do a very excellent job. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Gaunt Brothers Racing, as Ty Dillon is once again back in the number 96 for Gaunt Brothers Racing, driving with Black Rifle Coffee coming back on the car to sponsor him. He'll be back in that car this weekend driving the number 96. Now, Ty Dillon did not run the last time at Gaunt Brothers race. The last time they raced, they had Harrison Burr in the car, but it's great to see that Ty Dillon is back driving for them this year. It's great to see this because I think Ty Dillon definitely has some talent. Yes, this year definitely has not gone right for him, but I think that the 96 team could definitely make the race, especially since the last time they raced, which they raced at Daytona Road Course, last road course they raced. They were pretty successful, and I believe they finished in the top 25, if I'm not mistaken, with Ty Dillon and that number 96 car. So I definitely do for sure think that Ty Dillon definitely could have a very strong run. So I'm wishing the best luck for Ty Dillon. It's really awesome that Ty Dillon's getting an opportunity. And I hope he can have a good run because Ty Dillon definitely has had a lot of bad luck this year. So I'm wishing for the best and hope that Ty Dillon could have a very strong run this weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Collin Racing. As along with Gaunt Brothers Racing, Collin Racing is going to be also racing at Circuit of the Americas, and they will have AJ Allmendinger in the car this weekend. Makes a lot of sense. Last time they had AJ in the car, he ended up finishing in the top 10 at the Daytona Road Course, getting that team's first ever top 10. They were very solid the last time, and I think that they will have a lot of speed, especially since they are going to have RCR back, and the RCR cars, especially on the road courses, tend to have a lot of speed. And with the Chevy horsepower, with how fast Chevy has been this year, I think that they will definitely have a shot of at least contending. I expect this car to at least contend for maybe a top 10. I think at least for sure top 10. I can see this car even winning this weekend. I think that they'll definitely have a lot of speed this weekend. And I think that we will see a lot of good things come out from Collin Racing. I'm really excited to see that Collin Racing is going to be back this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Kevin Harvick. As Kevin Harvick is going to be racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Circuit of the Americas, driving the number 5 for Beecham Motorsports with backing from Rush Truck Centers. Kevin Harvick has not raced in the NASCAR Xfinity Series since 2018 when he basically said he was going to retire after he and Ross Chastain had issues. So it's been a few years since Kevin Harvick has raced. But I can tell you I am extremely excited to see that Kevin Harvick is going to be back in. He's not going to be in a very fast car, but I would not be surprised if Beecham Motorsports is going to be working with SHR, considering that Beecham Motorsports in the Cup Series has an alliance with SHR. I would not be shocked if they're going to be getting backing from SHR, similar to what Worker Racing is doing with Cole Custer. I would expect that SHR is going to be working in with Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick definitely has a shot at least for top 10 this weekend. I really think he does. Because Kevin Harvick, I think, is a very awesome and a very solid driver. And I think that he'll definitely have a very good shot of running up front. Great to see that Kevin Harvick is back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And I think that Kevin Harvick definitely has a shot at least contending for a top 10 this weekend. I think he's going to have a lot of speed this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. I think he's going to have a lot of speed. And now we're going ahead and jump onto the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about the LA Coliseum. As Chris Myers put on Twitter last night, something very interesting, is something that really no one kind of talked about on Twitter, unless they could accept a couple people. But according to him, NASCAR is looking at the possibility of racing at the LA Coliseum maybe next year as well, along with talks of possibly racing at Chicago and potentially racing in Denver or Mexico City. Now they're talking about racing at LA Coliseum and potentially having 2 races in the LA area. Because remember, Auto Club is in the LA area. It's about an hour away from LA, Auto Club is. And they're planning on making that a short track. And now they're talking about racing in the streets of Los Angeles. Like I've said in the past, I think it's really important to bring your product to the fans. And if you can bring your product to the fans, you can bring interest and more engagement to the fans. But the fact that they're considering the LA Coliseum, man, that is incredible. I definitely am very surprised that they're looking at LA Coliseum. I know they're still looking at racing around at Soldier Field. I know they're kind of looking at that right now. But man, the fact they're looking at racing at the LA Coliseum is definitely really awesome. I'm very excited to hear that they're looking at that. And hopefully it does end up coming true that they are going to race at LA Coliseum, because the gates are definitely open for sure if that is to be the case. But wow, I did not expect that, to be honest with you, and I hope that it does come to fruition. I think it'd be really cool if that would end up being the case. That would be really cool. And now we're going to jump on to the first of the couple major stories of today's episode, as we are talking about Paul Menard. As Paul Menard is going to be making his NASCAR return, as he is going to be racing in the Truck Series at Circuit of the Americas, driving the number 66 for Thor Sport. He'll be driving a 5th entry for Thor Sport this weekend. I'll be honest with you, I am extremely surprised, but also extremely excited. The last time Paul Menard raced in NASCAR was in 2019 when he decided that he was going to be retiring and Matty D would be taking over in 2020. I cannot tell you, it's been so long since Paul Menard has raced. It's been a couple years. It's just crazy to think that he is coming back. I did not expect this, to be honest with you. It's really interesting. I don't think Menard, unless I'm not mistaken, I don't think Menard is going to be sponsoring Paul Menard this weekend either, so that's really interesting. But it's been a few years, man, and Paul Menard in the Cup Series was pretty successful. It was a pretty decently solid NASCAR driver. I mean, he definitely won only one race in 2011 at the Brickyard 400, but he was really consistent. He made the playoffs in 2015. He was a pretty consistent driver. He didn't wreck the cars a lot, and that's why a lot of teams picked him up. Yes, of course, he did bring sponsorship to the team, but he definitely had, of course, kept the cars clean. He wasn't one of those pay drivers that always wrecked all the time like Riley Herbst. He's got the best out of his equipment. And I think that Paul Menard this weekend could definitely at least contend for maybe a top 10 or a top 20 at least for sure. I know it's been a few years since he raced, and I think experience definitely is going to come into play for a guy who has not raced in a few years, but he's going to be in a really, really fast truck. In the ThorSport trucks this year, especially if you look at Ben Rose, he's won twice this year. He's been really consistent, and with them being a Toyota organization, I absolutely think Paul Menard definitely has a shot at least contending this week, and I really, really think he does. If he has a lot of speed and the car is really, really good, I think that he has a shot. But man, it has been so long since Paul Menard has raced, and the fact that Paul Menard is coming back is really, really awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to it for sure, because it's been quite a bit since Paul Menard has raced, and I'm wishing the best luck, and great to see that Paul Menard is coming back. I'm really excited about that, hoping for the best for him. And now we're going to jump to the next major story of today's episode, as we are talking about number placements once again. It was reported this morning by Adam Stern that NASCAR teams have been informed by Nielsen that moving car number decals from the center of doors would result in added sponsor wave, including expectations that a change, increasing expectations that a change will be made after this season. The fact that they had to go to Nielsen is absolutely ridiculous in one thing. But let me say this. Moving the number of placements on the car is not going to fix the sponsorship problems. I've said this multiple times and said this many, many times on this channel. If you move the number placement, it's not going to fix the sponsorship problems, because NASCAR, I've never really mentioned this, they don't show more than half the time 5 cars. They did a better job this weekend showing the cars this weekend. They ended up showing a lot of battles around the racetrack, and there was a little more sponsor engagement there. But sponsors have to be engaging with the race car drivers. You can't move a number place and expect that more sponsors are going to come. There's a chance they're going to leave. And I feel like the designers are going to do as good of a job with these number places moved back. If you move them to the front, I think they could do a solid job with that. But if they're moving it to the back, I think that's a bad idea. I know the next gen car is supposed to be a little more wider and the tires are supposed to be a little more compact. So that might not be the end of the world right there. And I know it's coming, and I'm not a fan of it. I really am not a fan of it. I've said this many, many times, said this again. This is not going to fix the sponsorship problems that are going on in NASCAR right now. They are not going to fix it. If you think that they're going to fix it, you have another thing coming. Sponsors have to be engaging. I've brought the statistics from Busch Beer where they've gained sales from this. You have to activate those sponsors. The drivers have to get involved with their sponsors. They have to go to tents. They have to activate with them. And they have to be engaging. If you're not engaging with the fans, that could be a major, major problem for them. I think they need to be more engaging. That's the only way that you're going to be able to bring more fans in this sport. And a number placement movement is not going to fix this problem. It's not going to cross. It's basically in a thing I'm not a fan of. I think it's a bad idea, and I don't think you should do it. It's a thing that's coming next year. We have to expect it. But man, I'm definitely not looking forward to it. I think that generally it's a really, really bad idea, and I don't think they should do it. That's just my honest opinion on that situation. And now we're going to jump on to the final major story of today's episode, as we are talking about Alex Bowman. As it is expected that Alex Bowman is going to sign a multi-year deal contract with Hendrick Motorsports. Now, the contract, I haven't been told how long the contract is generally going to be for Alex Bowman, but it's expected that Alex Bowman is going to sign at least a 2-year deal through the Ally sponsorship. Again, this deal has not been officially announced at this time, but they are expecting to at least sign Alex Bowman through the 2023 season. This makes a lot of sense to me. Alex Bowman is just coming off of winning his second race. This is the first multi-win year of his career. He's won 4 career races so far. Chicagoland in 2019. He won last year at Auto Club in 2020. And now in 2021, he's got 2 wins at Richmond and Dover. It makes a lot of sense to sign Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman is a guy that's done very, very well in the NASCAR Cup Series throughout his career. I mean, like I mentioned, Alex Bowman has won for the first time in his career multiple races. And I think that now he's only the second driver to win multiple races here. So I think Alex Bowman definitely has a shot of at least contending and doing a lot of great things with his team. And I think that he's not even done this year with winning races. And I think long-term, it makes a lot of sense, especially I think the Hendrick core overall, there's not any moves that are going to be happening over there. Kyle Larson's contract, I believe, only goes as like a 2-year deal with Hendrick Motorsports, but sponsorship is starting to come in for Kyle Larson. He'll probably be extended. William Byron's contract goes through the 2022 year. He's been really, really doing good this year. He's been super consistent, and Rudy Fiegel and him working together, that's worked out for them overall. They're expecting to sign him. I expect them to at least sign a 3 or 4 more year deal. And of course, Chase Elliott, they're working on that big deal that I mentioned earlier of this year. They're working on a massive, massive deal for him. So I think that for sure we'll see a lot of good things going on for that. But I do expect that this contract is going to get signed very, very soon. Again, the deal has not been finalized, but I expect it to be 2 years with the Ally deal. And plus, Ally really does like not Chase Elliott. They really like Alex Bowman a lot. And Alex Bowman has done a lot of great things. Again, that's one thing Alex Bowman has really struggled for, sponsorship, but there's a sponsor that really, really does like him. And maybe they'll extend their sponsorship at Hendrick Motorsports. Who knows? But I can tell you right now, I think that this is a really good thing to see that they're expecting to sign him, and I think they should. Alex Bowman is a very, very talented driver. He's really come from nothing. I mean, remember, he started his career over at Tommy Baldwin Racing and started his career back at like some bad organizations like BK Racing and Tommy Baldwin. But Dillon Jr. was really the first one to believe him. And when Dillon Jr. has an eye for talent, it usually pans out and really, really works for him. So I'm really happy to see this guy. I think Alex Bowman is going to continue to do a lot of great things. I think he could win a championship at Hendrick Motorsports, especially with how good Hendrick Motorsports is right now. I think that he definitely could win a championship at Hendrick Motorsports. I really think he can because he's a really, really good driver. He's done really, really well. I've been really high on Alex Bowman for a very long time. Even back in the time in 2016 when he was substituting for Dillon Jr., he did very, very well. I mean, look back at the Phoenix race in 2016. He almost ended up winning that thing. And when he got an opportunity to go in the Bud Shootout in 2017, or the Clash of what it's called in 2017, he almost ended up winning that in 2017 as well. I mean, he ended up finishing, I think, 2nd or 3rd in that race. Of course, Joey Logano ended up winning that race, but he almost ended up winning that. 2018 was super consistent, and now he's going on to win his first multi-win year, and I think he'll win more races this year. I really think he will. So I think that this is a really good deal to see that Alex Bowman is expected to come back at least probably through 2023. Hendrick Motorsports is set for a long time. The future of Hendrick Motorsports is really, really bright, and it's really awesome to me that Alex Bowman is expected to come back to Hendrick Motorsports in the 2022 season. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, keep me notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support my Patreon as well. Link in the description below for that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about Alex Bowman expected to return to Hendrick Motorsports in 2022, and how well do you think he will do next year? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about Paul Menard making his NASCAR return and racing at Circuit Americas, and how well do you think he will do? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.